So now it's my pleasure to introduce Professor Qi, who's, I think, very well known in this place because she's been a fellow here even, haven't you, at the British Museum and British Library. So I don't want to waste too much time on introductions. You can read about all the speakers in the program booklet, of course. So now I just invite Professor Qi to come and give her talk.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be here. And I also want to say thank you to the organizer and the host of the British Museum. And what I'm talking about today, I'm going to talk about is the dating of Mogao Cave 464's murals. So. Okay, I'm going to talk about it from 4 parts. The research background will be introduced in my study first, and then I will be analyze 3 different parts of the murals in this cave through comparing the murals and inscriptions with some contents from other places in same subject and dating. Let's check about this map. This map shows the location of Dunhuang Mogao grottos on the Silk Road and the distance to Chang'an. Some murals and inscriptions from Yulin Cave, not far away from Dunhuang, and Xiaoqing caves from Turfan region will be concerned in my topic. We know there are totally 735 caves are scattered in on the cliff as long as about 1.6 kilometers from south to north. There are 492 caves in south area and another 235 caves are scattered in north area, but no decoration and statues in these caves on the north area. So what I'm talking about today is the cave 464 is located in the north area, and we know the caves on the north area are forbidden for the common tourist visiting now, so it is not easy to visit the cave 464. Let's check about the cave 464. This is the sign of this cave, and this area is antechamber, and this is antechamber, and here is paintings on corridor area, and I also will concern the paintings in main chamber in this area. We know the cave 464 of Mogao grotto was originally built in northern Yuan Dynasty, but had been repaired several times in the long history. Popelier had firstly selected roughly 600 documents with several languages from this cave in 1908. By 1921, the remnants of the White Russians shredded in the Mogao caves demolished the tomb of a Yuan Dynasty princess in the northwest corner of the antechamber in the cave and took away some items. And then Zhang Daqian then discovered more than 100 multilingual documents from this cave when he stayed at Mogao during last century. And in 1989, Dunhuang Academy excavated more than 80 manuscripts again from this cave, so roughly 800 manuscripts and items had already been discovered from this cave, and lots of investigate and research work had done to this cave. Okay. But at present, there are lots of argument on the chronology of the murals in this cave. So we have Yuan Dynasty, Tangut, and Uyghur period, pre-Tangut, Tangut, and Yuan Dynasty. There are lots of different ideas, opinions about the chronology about the murals in this cave. But in recently 20 years, different arguments were twisting in divided groups of scholars whose viewpoint mainly focused on Tangut and Yuan Dynasty, such as those scholars. But in my opinion, today, what I'm talking about is Yuan Dynasty. Let's look at the illustration of the story about Sudana visiting the 53 Karyana meter on the south and north walls in front in antechamber. In this, the murals on both south and north walls in the antechamber are badly damaged. Fortunately, some black and white pictures took by Paul Pilliot provided us clearer images. 5 rows from top to bottom with 4 squares in each row, making a total of 20 squares were displayed in either south and north wall. But there are actually 19 squares on south wall due to the top middle 2 squares have been merged into a bigger one. A scholar named Liang Weiying from Dunhuang Academy first recognized these square paintings are telling the story about Sudana visiting the 53 Karyana meter according to the chapter of entering the world Dharma from the Avatamsaka Sutra. Although the sequences of these 39 storylines remained in this cave was not based on the order of sutra text strictly, but it doesn't disturb us, still confirm it was a story of this subject. There are lots of Uyghur inscriptions on these 2 walls. Were also recognized as translation of the chapter of entering the world of Dharma from the Avatamsaka Sutra. Double proved that these paintings in squares were the illustrations of this story. These are the details of the murals in antechamber of Cave 464. Illustrations of the story about Sudana visiting the 53 Karyana meter is a commonly subject sutra image in Dunhuang since Song Dynasty, but there are distinctively with one painted in Cave 464. The only composition of this topic up to the present was found in cave number 5 in Turfan region. This is the Turfan region, the Xiaoqing cave. In Turfan region, Gurung Widow firstly recognized this cave complex and recorded the content of the murals and inscriptions of this cave in his report. This is outlook of Xiaoqing grotto with 6 caves remaining today. What I'm talking about is about the cave number 5. Through comparing the construction of the murals from both caves in Turfan and Mogao, scholars had proposed that they shared the same iconology program. They probably built in the same period. And also, through some donor figures and inscriptions in this cave could help us to confirm the chronology of these murals. We can see a female donor on the right side wall of the entrance in antechamber of Cave 5 in Xiaotargo Grotto is wearing a Uyghur costume, the first one we can see. The type of which is resembled to the 3 rose donor figures in the same place in neighbor cave of Cave 4, number 4 in the same grotto, and meanwhile another female donor painted below these Uyghur female figures is wearing Mongolian hat on top of her head, indicating that both caves of number 4 and number 5 in Xiaotargo caves were built in the same period, and those donors' figures showed that they were built in Yuan Dynasty, which can be precisely dated in 13th century. Besides the female Uyghur figure of cave number 4, there is a piece of Uyghur inscription letters had been recognized as princess. It can be proposed that this female figure was most probably a Mongolian princess who had married to the king Idukut, who was a king of Gaochang Kingdom. Gaochang was the name of ancient Turfan region, and we also propose that Xiaotargo Grotto was built by the king's families of Gaochang Idukut. I also explored other illustrations, drafts of the subject of Sudana visiting the 53 Karyana Mitra from ancient documents and paintings, but none of them have any resemblance to the one in Cave 464 of Mogao. But fortunately, I found another painting about this subject of story collected in Japan. This painting was made in Yuan Dynasty in 1294, and it contains the same construction with the painting in Cave 464 of Mogao. Next, let's check out the images of Bodhisattva in both side walls of corridor. The paintings on south and north side walls of the corridor in this cave are now remaining 2 Bodhisattva images in each side. Professor Yang Fuxue from Dunhuang Academy had recognized them as 10-stage Bodhisattva, 10 地菩萨, 10-stage Sattva from Tamasaka Sutra according to the Uyghur inscriptions. Written on top of the Bodhisattva figures' heads. The Uyghur inscriptions were also proved copying from the version of Golden Light Most Victorious King Sutra, translated by monk Sheng Guang, who was an Uyghur translator from Beshbali region. This is today's Turfan region in 10th century. Golden Light Most Victorious King Sutra was also belonging to the belief system of Tamasaka Sutra, and it was well known in both Dunhuang and Turfan regions in Yuan Dynasty. Up to now, no fewer than 583 fragments of these sutra scriptures have been found in Turfan region, making it one of the largest known surviving written texts of Buddhist in Uyghur language, indicated that this subject of sutra had been super popular in Turfan and Herxi region, especially welcomed in crowd of Uyghur groups. In addition, painting techniques of these Bodhisattva statues are resembled to the ones in other paintings in Mogao and Yulin caves of Yuan Dynasty. All of these Bodhisattva statues were painted surrounded by auspicious cloud, which was an unique character in the paintings of Yuan Dynasty. We also found that these Bodhisattva statues were decorated with garden in their crown, earrings, arm chains, and knees parts. There are some other Buddhist figures and silk paintings fragments decorated with garden were discovered in the caves of northern area of Mogao grottos, neighboring to the Cave 464, which corresponded to the Yuan history that Yuan Dynasty was a heyday of gold brocade craftsmanship. Next, let's go to the study on the art style and chronology of the paintings in main chamber. This area. The main chamber of this cave is more square, deeper roofed grotto with an east to west depth about 3.8 meters and a north to south width about 4 meters. Squares are painted on the west, south, and north walls of the main chamber. We also can find that a round wheel was added at the junction of the second and third panel above the west wall. An image of water and moon, Avalokitesvara, was filled in it. In this picture, we can't find the Avalokitesvara image in this circle, but we can find it from the Paleot, the picture from the Paleot. Academic study had indicated that those square paintings refer to the 33 manifestations of Avalokitesvara according to the Lotus Sutra. Each square painting shows the sign of manifestation of Avalokitesvara, but no one had explained what is the meaning of the circle Avalokitesvara. About the date of this painting, most scholars thought them painted in Tangut because they compared this sutra and the images of this cave to the scroll painting collected, made in Tangut and collected in Dunhuang Academy. That scroll painting was built in Tangut. So, but I don't think so. The first reason is the painting of the subject of Lotus Sutra had been repeated to draw for a long time. There are lots of paintings about this subject before Yuan Dynasty, but they are really distinctive with the cave, the one in the cave 464. This subject had been repeated to draw for a long time, not only in the cave of Dunhuang, but also in other places. But none of them can be resembling to the one in the cave 464. Here I'm going to cite another example from Zhai grottos in Inner Mongolia, and all of which murals also built in Yuan Dynasty. Most of the murals in this Buddhist site are featuring with no niches in it, covering with murals on walls, but the wall panel is similarly divided into several small squares, and all of them are painted with images and also with multiple language inscriptions beside the paintings. For example, in cave 31 of Zhai, the Avalokitesvara image, we can see, there is a Avalokitesvara image with 11 faces was displayed in a big circle. 20 squares with Tara stories are located on each side of this circle. Accordingly, in the west wall of the main chamber of Mogao Cave 464, there is also a small circle in the middle top of the west wall among those squares. And I also can cite a lot of constructions like that from Shanxi province, from the temple paintings of Yuan Dynasty. So because of the time, I will not cite those details. Conclusion, more text evidences can be introduced as a further proof to strength that the murals of Cave 464 were built in Yuan Dynasty. The first is some past scriptures of 6-character mantra of O Mani, Pa, Mi, Hong, mixed among the Chinese, Tibetan, Sanskrit, Uyghur, and Tangut inscriptions were written in the north wall of antechamber. As widely known, the Paspa text was created by Tibetan monk Paspa in Yuan Dynasty, and the 6-character mantra is generally written in a single character. Only in Hebei region has been found in a variety of characters written in the 6-character mantra due to the golden family of Dunhuang of Mongolian Yuan and had been ruling in this area, ruling the Hebei corridor. And another evidence is a date of Uyghur inscription, Uyghur scripture excavated from this cave was confirmed as February 6th in 1342, according to the inscriptions of Chinese date on it. Some of the Uyghur documents excavated in this cave were signified by an Uyghur monk translator named Anzang, who was a well-known Buddhist translator in Yuan Dynasty, and the sutra text from the walls in this cave are also identified corresponding to the versions translated by Anzang. And I also want to mention that Anzang, this translator named Anzang, whose name also can be found in the document, the history document of Yuan Shi or other documents in Yuan Dynasty. So I cited the paintings and inscriptions evidence to prove that the paintings remaining in this cave were made in Yuan Dynasty. Thank you.